In this video, we're going to cover the texturing portion of making a skin. So what we're going to do first is we're going to bring our texture maps in from a Marmoset that we baked. And then we're going to bring in our low poly model. And then we're going to go ahead and do some texturing. And then we're going to export our maps for both Rust and Marmoset so we can do some rendering. So I'm starting off by creating a new project in Substance Painter. And then we need to set up our settings for our project. So the best one to use when you're first starting is EBR Spec Gloss. And what that is basically the specular gloss workflow. So we have normals, specular, gloss, AO, and emission. So then document resolution. This is going to want to be the same size as the maps you baked in Marmoset. So I did 4K bakes, so I'm going to choose a 4K project. Then our normal format will be OpenGL. We're going to leave all this the same. And then you're going to want to open your low poly that we created in maybe the first or second video, I can't remember. So you can either use the one where you've deleted the extra UV islands, or you can also use like the base Rust one, but you have to make sure that it's flipped into the correct orientation. So I'm just going to choose this coffee can helmet. We can actually put our baked maps into here, but it's easy just to bring them in after this, so I'm going to hit OK. You can see we've got our helmet in here. And then when we've got this open, we want to go to texture settings. You see here we've got our channels. So we're just going to want to add in emissive as well. And then Rust also supports opacity, so I'm just going to change my shader. So this shader supports opacity, so this is on my Discord for download if you want to get it. So we click that, and then we can turn on opacity. That means we can hide parts of our mesh. And that pretty much summarizes how we set up our project. So the next thing we're going to do is import our baked maps from Marmoset. So here you can see the maps we baked in the last video. So I'm just going to highlight all of these and then drag them into the interface here. And then we're just going to select all of them and change the type to texture. And then I'm just going to import to current session. So that means when I make a new project, these won't be there, which is, we don't really want to save them every time, so click import. So these are our baked maps, and we're going to drag them into the mesh maps column here. So object, space normals go here. Normals go here. This can be fairly slow, depending on your PC, and also sort of how complex your textures are will mean this goes even slower. So I've already got some textures on this project, so it's a little bit slow. Curvature goes in the curvature. AO goes in ambient occlusion. And then albedo goes to ID. As you can see here, we've got some more options. You can choose to use these if you want, and if you know how to use them, but I don't find them that useful. So in the model view here, we can see all of our texture maps have been applied. And it looks pretty good. So after you've done this, you can go ahead and start texturing. I'm not going to cover in great detail the texturing process in this video because it would be very long. Probably at some point I'll do a time lapse of all of these videos of how I model texture, etc. But yeah, it'll be hours long. So I'm just going to show this texture I did for this coffee can for a skin I made recently. So when you're texturing, we normally sort of like select individual areas using the ID map we created when we were modeling and baking. So as an example, you see how I've got all these areas linked to one texture? And how we do this is we create a folder, and we can add a mask with color selection. So if I click on this color selection, you can see here I've selected the different parts of the model into that mask. So what that means is basically anything in this folder will be using the textures within it. It's like a really neat way and quick way of texturing. So you see, like I just repeated this material a couple of times for the different colors of painted metal. And then after I've done all sort of like my base metals and base painted metals, I did the leather for the strap. That's just like a default material. And then I've added this other leather for the band on the strap. And then I've also got a folder for my decals, so here I've like gone around and hand painted in some details, so it's like a base. Got some arrows and some text on the band as well. I quite like adding these hand painted details. It really fits Rust well. And then I've got this paint layer here called oil, and that's basically my oil. It's from the bolts. Just adds a little bit of something, you know. And then I've got some stitches. So yeah, I've added some stitches using the stitch tool. So this is a tool I use quite a lot instead of modeling stitches. You see this tool here, the stitch tool. It's an easy way to add them. It's a lot easier than modeling them. And then here I've got like a pass-through layer and then a sharpen effect on it. That just sharpens up the textures very slightly. And then I've even added a little bit of the AO onto the actual texture. I think that helps, you know, helps accentuate some of the details and sort of the depth of the sculpt. Yeah, that's basically white texture. I know it's not great detail, but hopefully that's helpful. At this point, we're ready to export our texture maps for Rust and also for Marmoset. So I like to do my Marmoset exports at 4K, and then I do the Rust ones at whatever resolution the item is in game. I believe the coffee can is 1K, so we're going to use that. So when we're ready to export, we go to File, Export Textures. And you can see I've got like a template set up for this as well. I think I've got these in my Discord, but I can show you quickly how to set these up. So just selecting a coffee can, and then I've got templates, Rust export. So this is my Rust export template for when I'm using SpecGloss workflow. So you can copy this. And then I've also got a Marmoset export. You can copy this as well. So as you can see, I've got my folder set up. So I've just got a Rust folder for the Rust export. PNG 8-bit, and then 1K, padding, dilation infinite's okay. You can also use dilation transparent, but I'm ready to use this one. Click export. It's pretty quick. And then also I would do the Marmoset one. I'll just make a new folder for that. Normal. Click folder. Marmoset. Then I'm using 4K texture maps for this. Export. And that's our exporting of my texture maps done. So I think that pretty much concludes this video. In the next video, I'm probably going to either cover bringing our texture maps into Rust or bringing them into Marmoset for rendering. So yeah.